From the future of middle schools in District 20 to the future of Burke High School, I speak exclusively with District 20 Constituent School Board Chairwoman Dowling Child for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Dowling Child, it's so good to see you again here on Quintin's Close-Ups.
It's good to see you too, Quintin.
I appreciate it greatly. I'm bringing you back on Quintin's Close-Ups because there's a lot going on. Obviously, you are the chairwoman for District 20, the Charleston County School District's constituent school board. Mm-hmm. What is it like to be you these days?
Well, well, I'm a full-time teacher,
Yeah.
so that is a lot of my life, and so I'm very passionate about education, and we are doing the usual kind of meetings for D20, and just trying to navigate all of the changes that are in store for our schools.
You talk about
which, naturally brings a lot of anxiety to people. Yeah.
How do you deal with those changes in District 20 right now? What are those changes in your mind?
Well, I think it's pretty exciting because we need a lot of changes.
Okay.
So, and I think Charleston is very hesitant to embrace changes. So we're a little slow to take action, and so it's exciting that we have a superintendent that is leading this charge to actually make serious changes. So what that looks like is we have a critical mission group that has just had their first couple of meetings, and they're supposed to tackle the big questions that are going to be hard. But one of the non-negotiables that is, I think, in store is that we're going to consolidate middle schools, because we currently have like 4 middle school programs that are very small.
Right.
And in this day, a successful program needs to be bigger, to have more course offerings, and to consolidate services. And so I get that. That makes sense. But how that is done exactly, I don't. We don't know. We're going to leave that up to the people who are in charge of making this decision.
You talk about those services. What would those services be under a consolidated middle school system?
Well, even things like food, nursing, mental health services. Right now we have people who move from school to school.
Okay.
So it's obviously less expensive to have all of those services under one roof to serve everyone.
Mm-hmm. What else change would you bring to District 20 if you could right now?
If I could right now, well, obviously the high school is a major concern.
Okay.
So I think, I agree. So speaking personally, not as a representative of my board, but personally, I think that the recommendation made by the Clemson diversity team to, and which was also, I think, embraced by the Shared Futures Project, is to change the lines, and to make our districts bigger. So instead of having all of these small groups within this enormous county, you would have maybe four areas. And so I would like to see us, have a bigger zone to work with, because right now, even if we had all of our high school kids going to one school, which is unlikely, we don't even have enough students downtown to really do that. We have 730 high school students that are in public school right now. So, successful high school programs like Wando has, 4,000. So, and that provides all of those options that high school kids need now, especially such a diverse group of students.
What options do high school students, particularly at Burke, need right now in your mind?
The Burke students right now, or all of our downtown students?
Oh, Burke High School.
Well, I think that I'm not gonna. It's hard for me to say what the students at Burke High School need right now. I think that the current administration is certainly doing the best it can to provide options, but it's very hard with such a small student body to provide, just to provide the diversity of classes that make school interesting, and also to provide the kind of rigor like AP classes that kids desire and are very helpful. And I think the new tech program there is very interesting because it combines subjects and it really kind of digs into some social justice issues or other issues that kids can really get their heads around and get them excited about learning. So that's the idea anyway. And I think that's definitely maybe best practices for high schools these days to have those kinds of options. So that's a positive.
Would you ever consider bringing a Black or White program there by chance?
A what program?
A baccalaureate program at Burke.
I don't know. What is
A baccalaureate program.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, an international baccalaureate program. Well, I do think that we need an international baccalaureate program as one of the options for our downtown schools.
Okay.
It would, a lot of our students at used to go to the IB program at James Island. In fact, I have a student, one of my sons is going to be doing that in the fall. And so that's a very attractive program to a lot of kids and to a lot of parents. And it seems to be popular over in James Island. So I think we should, in general, recreate the programs that are successful, that are we already have buy-in from students and parents.
Okay.
But the question about Burke it really needs, again, this critical mission group is going to have to tackle those issues. Luckily, it's not up to people like me, but whether they implement whatever they decide to do at Burke, I think it's all up in the air because it is such a small program and it's not providing. It's not functioning as a neighborhood high school. Okay. So that's a real concern.
What is it functioning as right now in your mind, looking as a chairwoman on the school board?
Well, I think, as you know, Burke has a very celebrated history, any kind of black college or university that is such an important part of its identity. And I celebrate that. I think that's great, and that there's room for that.
So what other questions do you have about Burke High School's future?
What other questions well, it will be interesting to see. Okay. It's unsustainable for us, for a high school to be that small. Okay. We cannot have 300 students at Burke. We need to have that program grow, maybe as a magnet program, maybe as a charter program, maybe as a program underneath an umbrella of other high school options, like international baccalaureate. There could be, and the same could apply for middle school. You could have a school with different options under the same roof, to make the high school or middle school more sustainable, and to have it provide all of the options that make those schools interesting.
You talk about 300 students at Burke High School. Can you walk me through how we got to 300 students by chance?
Well, that is a big long story. I don't know that I can do that very well. Okay. But Burke has an incredible history, as you know. Sure. At one time, there were thousands of students, and it had all of those incredible programs like fashion design and all kinds of trade that really translated into great careers, and it has a celebrated alumni all over the country. And it'd be great to find a way to build upon that success, but times have changed. We are not going to have that Burke again. So that's a hard fact for some people to, to move forward and to say, how are we going to adapt to this new situation?
Okay.
And so, yes, that's a big question.
And I know a lot of people have questions about Stonyfield. Where are we with that right now in your mind?
So finally, there is dirt being turned at Stonyfield.
Okay.
And that is a project that is that CCSD is paying for,
Okay.
but also working with the city.
Sure,
so
sure,
it's had to be, it's relied on the city to pull its weight to. I think it's been a complicated process, but it's great that it's finally started. So we've been very eager to get that going.
Stonyfield, besides having obviously Burke High School play there, what other programs or companies would you like to have at Stonyfield if you could?
Well, I'd love Stonyfield to be open to the community.
Okay.
I mean, I think we don't have as many green spaces as a lot of other areas. And that's really important to people. I'd love for it to have a track. I don't think that's not in the current plan. But, to be able to have a place where residents can go and watch their kids play and, have it could be shared with other schools. And it is our only downtown field.
Yeah.
So it's important for it to be a shared resource.
I know earlier you talked about consolidating middle schools. What will Simmons Pinckney look like in your mind in 5 years?
Bigger.
Mm.
Yeah, because I think that it doesn't make sense to have these tiny other middle school programs with just, 40 kids.
Okay.
I mean, it's really hard to provide appropriate options for high school with that small number. So if we consolidate, we would have a more diverse and more options for our middle school kids.
Middle school kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that recently you toured the school along with our new board member, Stefana D'Alessandro. When you look back at your visit at the school to right now, what still plays in your mind about Simmons Pinckney?
I'm not sure what you repeat that question.
When you went with the Stefana over to Simmons Pinckney middle school that is, and you toured the school, what was it like for you to be there and see Simmons Pinckney in action?
Oh, I've been to Simmons Pinckney many times through the years.
Okay.
And I have great respect for the leadership at Simmons Pinckney and their willingness to work with all of the kids and all of the great many personalities that you have in middle school. So having middle schoolers myself, I appreciate that. I think it's, they have some of the challenges that any middle school has with certain behaviors, and but that they're doing their best to, and actually the growth at the school has been significant, so that's great.
And I know, obviously, I believe he said this in the interview with me for Quintin School Stuff just recently, Nate Nelson. I don't know if it's going to be a new location for Simmons Pinckney or not, but it seems like, as you indicated a few minutes ago, that they're going to outgrow their space. Mm-hmm.
Well, that building is not long for the world, in my opinion.
Okay. Talk to me about it.
I mean, ideally, I think you would tear down that building and put a more modern structure there.
Okay. And how soon will that happen?
But maybe CCSD wants to give us 75 Calhoun for our school. That would be a great space too.
Huge. That's a huge space there.
Right. So I just don't know.
Oh, really?
I have obviously a lot of opinions about our schools, but I'm not in a position to really
Sure.
make any action happen.
Okay. And let me get you back to Stonyfield. Obviously, you just mentioned that there's being laid down there. Mm-hmm. Have you been able to tour Stonyfield since that has happened?
No.
Okay.
No, have you?
Hey, I get that expression.
You have more information than I.
I wish.
You do. But like I said, I should be interviewing you.
I'm trying to keep up. But let me get back to District 20. Obviously, you are the chairwoman for District 20, constituent school board for Charleston County.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you want to do next?
After this, my post is over in 2 years.
Okay.
So I love my job.
Yes.
So I work for Meeting Street Schools,
Yeah.
and Meeting Street Academy, I think, is one of the best schools in the country. If you haven't toured it, you should definitely. So I just get great fulfillment working in my jobs.
Yes.
You know, helping kids learn to read.
Read.
And that's my real passion is pushing research-based reading instruction in our schools. And sadly, that's where we've really fallen short, and that's the source of a lot of our problems here, is that teachers have not been properly prepared how to teach reading. It's not their fault, but since the 80s, we've been stuck in this what's called the whole language approach to reading,
Okay.
which they renamed balanced literacy, but it's really not balanced at all. It's really, sort of reading by memorizing words.
Mm-hmm.
And the phonics has been really taken out. So that's coming back in.
Okay.
And that's absolutely an essential part of bringing up the reading levels for all children in our schools. So that's a real passion of mine.
What is the reading level right now in District 20 in your mind?
Well, you know that there's an enormous achievement gap between Black students and white students. So that's, and I think that this lack of research-based reading instruction,
Okay.
That not being pushed at the state level, not being pushed in our colleges and universities. So therefore, teachers really being unprepared how to teach reading in a systematic way with phonics-based. I think that's really contributed to that achievement gap.
And obviously, you have been on the constituent school board for a while. What is the future of the constituent school board in your mind, and as a whole?
Well, it looks like the constituent school boards are going to be cut, and so that's fine with me. I think that if down the road, if we followed the shared projects kind of vision
Okay.
and made our areas bigger, made like 4 areas instead of these smaller areas, then you could have boards that oversaw all of the kinds of decision making for those larger areas.
Okay. Okay.
So instead of having one consolidated board, you could have these 4 boards.
Mm.
And that would eliminate the constituent school board. And I think the constituent school boards are important because we have such an enormous county, and so it's helpful to have people who are on the ground and
Okay.
kind of understand what the issues going on in our schools. But if we had bigger areas, then I think that you wouldn't need so many little boards. You could have one consolidated board for each of those 4 areas.
Well, then talk to me about growth in District 20 from the time that you got on the constituent school board to right now.
Mm-hmm. Growth. I'm not sure our numbers have changed that
Okay.
much,
Okay.
but I'm a poor person to discuss numbers with generally. But I think it's probably been, in terms of our student population, about the same. We have a lot of retirees, moving here to downtown Charleston, but they're not putting kids in our schools. What really needs to happen is our tax situation needs to be changed,
Okay.
so that homeowners contribute to like teacher salaries and the operating expenses of our schools, because it really doesn't make sense that we don't do that.
I know earlier you talked about 300 students at Burke High School. How much does it cost to operate Burke right now?
I don't know that number, but
Okay.
it's obviously much higher per head than the students at Wanda, who share all of those resources in a more efficient way.
And obviously there's been a talk about the Center for Advanced Studies all over the Charleston County School District. Would you be in favor of bringing that downtown by chance, or even to District 20?
I don't know enough about that.
Okay. Okay.
But think that there's room for some interesting programs like that for our
Okay.
students downtown.
Okay.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Again, if we have the space like 75 Calhoun building, then we could maybe, we don't use our space efficiently. So we have if we can better consolidated our schools, we would have definitely 1 or 2 empty buildings that we could welcome another program in.
And obviously, like I said, you've been a chairwoman here for this school board for, I believe this is your second time.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you want to do next? What's on your agenda?
I'm not running for any offices. Mm-hmm.
When you look at the issues right now in District 20, what are you focused on next?
I'm completely obsessed with reading instruction.
Okay.
And I think, we have made progress. This administration has really understood better than ever before that issue that we have, this void of research-based training for our teachers.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. We have really made progress in terms of curriculum, in terms of teacher training. There's still little pockets of progress, but that's great. I would like for that to be more widespread and thorough, and more of it.
I know I was looking at the agenda for the constituent school board, District 20, just recently. Obviously on the agenda was transfer requests. How many transfers are you getting for students rather, who want to come into Burke?
We get some. Generally, we deal with just a handful of transfer requests at each meeting, perhaps. So sometimes people who work downtown want their child to go to Burke. Sometimes their kids have had problems in other schools, so they want to go to Burke. We have kind of clear guidelines as to what qualifies for a transfer and what doesn't. So we don't have much gray room. We just say, either it qualifies according to our guidelines or it doesn't. Mm-hmm.
Well, Chairwoman Dowling Child, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you, Quintin.
You're welcome.